Before you build anything in a 3D scene, you really need to establish a scale convention and build your objects to that scale. If you don't do that, then you're going to have major problems later. For example, let's say you're not paying attention to scale and you build a character and it's 50 feet tall in the virtual environment here. And then in a different scene, you build a house and it's an inch tall. And then you try to merge or combine those scenes, then obviously they're at disparate scales. And that's going to be a problem. And you might think you'd be able to just scale one or the other to match, but in many cases that doesn't work. If you have a rigged character, for example, a lot of times they won't scale properly, and you'll be in a lot of trouble, and you may actually have to trash all of your work and start over again. I've actually seen this happen many times with students. Don't fall into that trap. Make sure that you build things to the appropriate scale at the very beginning. If I select that plant, and I go over to the Modify panel, we see a height value, but we see no units of measurement associated with that. We don't know whether that's 20 inches, feet, miles, kilometers. We need to enable a display unit in order to find out what is the actual value, the actual height in this case. Okay, so let's go into the Customize menu and go to Units Setup. And here we have a section labeled Display Unit Scale. And this is the system of measurement that we want to choose for our scene. And choosing a different system of measurement does not change the absolute size of objects in the scene. It just changes what type of ruler we want to use to measure objects. I can choose the metric system, and then I can also choose from the pull-down list whether I want it to read out in centimeters or meters or whatever. This also determines how 3ds Max will interpret a keystroke. If I have centimeters chosen here, and I type in 100 into the height field, for example, then 3ds Max will know that I meant 100 centimeters. If I chose meters, and then I typed in 100, then 3ds Max would interpret that keystroke as 100 meters. All right, let's just go with the default of centimeters. Click OK to exit out of that dialog, and now we're seeing a height of 50.8 centimeters. I could go back into that dialog by choosing Customize Unit Setup, and I could switch it over to US Standard Units and click OK, and now it's actually reading out in inches. The object didn't change size. I just chose to measure the object using inches rather than centimeters. All right, I'll go back in there and I will change that to metric system with centimeters. Click OK, and that's how to set up your display units. And by the way, because changing the display units doesn't change the size of objects, people working in different systems can share files and there won't be any conflict.